Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. Today you're not going to see me, I'm not going to use the other camera, you will only see the screen share. In this video we're going to learn about Python. Okay, so let's basics, super basics of Python, and the homework will also be based on Python. It's actually interesting, when I just came to FMU and I was assigned to teach this class, originally all the materials we had were in C, okay, for robotics, and I decided to change everything to Python because it looks like, based on my experience of the industry, Python is becoming more and more popular, even more popular than Java, and C is used more and more rarely. So if you work for Google, Google uses C a lot. Microsoft, of course, they develop C Sharp, but not that much. Python is just becoming more and more popular, and the trend for the Python is just to go up. Okay, it's just to run rampant. That's why we'll be learning Python. Okay, so first off, what you need to do is install Python. Google that. Not gonna explain you how to do that. But then, okay, so I'm in the command line. I'm just gonna type Python. No. Okay, like this. Perfect. So I'm at the console for Python, specifically for Python. That actually is something which doesn't exist for Java, but for Python, for some other languages, it does. It's basically like creating the program on the fly, okay, on the go. So let's talk about the super duper basics of Python. So at this point, you already know Java, okay, and I'm going to basically quickly compare the basics of Python, the basics of Java. So in Java, if I want to create a variable, right, I need to say int a is equal to 5, okay? So, and you probably remember that like int means integer, but then if 5 is not 5 but 5.5, I need to create a double, okay? Python is nice because they basically said, screw that. Who cares, like, what's the point of saying double if it's obvious based on what I have on the right? If I have 5.5, it gotta be a double. If I have 5, it gotta be an integer, right? That would actually make sense. And that's why Python automatically understands the type of the variable, okay, just based on this. So I'm going to, so if I say a is equal to 5.5, yeah, a is going to be created of the type double, and it's going to be 5.5 is going to be assigned to that. Then b, for example, can be, I don't know, hello world, okay? Now, yeah, in Python, by the way, there are two types of Python, two versions. So Python 2.7, I would say, okay? Um, so basically Python 2 dot something and Python 3 dot something, okay? They kind of equally good, I would say. It's completely up to you, like what to use. They have very minor differences. Yeah, I think I have like three Python 3 here. I know 2.7. Okay, I have 2.7. Okay, yeah, so I'll be using 2.7, but it's completely up to you. The differences are really small. Okay, what's very nice is that, like when you read in documentation of Java, okay, like Java docs, Oracle, and of some other programming languages, it's extremely difficult to understand. So you just, like, you go over here and you have no idea. It just looks so much, and it's such a huge table. And of course, you're not going to go through the entire table to understand something. It's kind of like huge and encyclopedia reference book. So it's like you can't really read that. For Python, though, all the documentation is basically one tutorial. It's super comprehensive and easy to understand. So, for example, if I want to Google something with Python, it's super easy to do. Like, I don't know, if I want to convert number to string Python, okay? So that a lot of times, well, in this case, it's different. But a lot of times it's gonna bring me directly to the official documentation, not like to a forum, not like Stack Overflow, but immediately to the documentation. In this case, no, though. Okay, whatever, whatever. Okay, cool. So now if I do print A, okay, it's going to print out A. If I do print B, it's going to print out B. What's interesting? Oh yeah. Okay, moving on. What else? Okay, I have a tutorial here, so let's talk about again the basics, right? So yeah, so if you say 1 is equal to 1, it'll be 1. Okay, 2 is equal to 2, some number is equal to 1000. In Python, by the way, for some reason, the notation of the usual naming convention of variables is using with the underscore. So in Java, we would say some number, right? In Python, though, that's not how it's usually done. It's usually words, lowercase words, separated by the underscore. That's the convention. Some number, okay, not clear. Some number is equal to 5. Okay. Okay, moving on. Yeah, so in general, I would say Python is just kind of much easier to read and to use version of Java. That's what I would say. Cool, moving on. Booleans. Okay, so Boolean t is equal to true. Okay, so true spelled with capital T in Python. Okay, now print Boolean t. Okay, true, and then same with false. Okay, so also with capital F. Not sure why they did that, but okay, and it was the decision. Oh yeah, how do you do comments? Comments start with the hash sign. Okay, a pound sign. Okay, so comment. Okay. Um, comment. Okay, yeah, that's how it starts. What else? If. Okay, so if again is just everything which is in Java but allows it easy to understand. So if 5 is equal to 5. Okay, and now you need to have a colon. Okay, and what's interesting is that in Python you don't have braces, you have colon, right? And then the question would be, how do I know where start, where end? Okay, so you start immediately after a colon, and then, no, hold on. How would I go to, no. Ah, okay. Anyway, yeah. So if 5 is equal to 5, and then okay, let me change. Let me open up Sublime Text. Okay, that's actually the Python code I'm using for my dissertation over here. But anyway, so in Python, so that's comment. Okay. Now the way you do if, right? So you just say if a is equal to 5, then you put a colon, okay, and then instead of the braces, instead of doing that in Python, what you have to do, you have to place a tab. And I honestly think it's super inconvenient. Why did they do that? But okay, so the idea is whenever you have a tab, whenever you have like some lines of code, okay, tabbed, that's going to be inside of the if statement. But if you want to get outside of this if statement, you need to just go back to this previous indentation. I don't know, very inconvenient in my opinion, because you have to track it. And what's crazy is that it only accepts tabs, not like a couple of spaces. So unfortunately, if you place 4 spaces instead of a tab, Python is not going to understand that you want to kind of apply this code, right? So this code to over here. Okay, so it'll be outside of the if statement. So Python is all based on the like on the tabs. Okay, so same thing for the for loop, while loop, all of that. What's nice about Python is if you have a boolean like if you have boolean condition like if a is equal to 5, right? And remember when we had like and like this, right? Or like this. In Python it's much easier. You just say and b is equal to 10. Okay, and then colon. Okay, that's interesting. And same thing with or. Okay, so for example, if a is equal to 5 or b is equal to 5. No? There needs to be, well, okay, so without if. False. Okay, that's false. Immediately evaluated this statement. If I say and, of course, that's also going to be false, right? So what was 5.5? Okay, so if a is equal to 5.5, or, okay, that's true. Perfect, moving on. Hold on, yeah, let's move on. Yeah, so if true, then you have colon, then you have a tab. Okay, that's crazy. Something, yeah, something for this. Greater than, it's the same way. Less than or equal to, right? So you would say if a is greater than or equal to 5, right? Sorry, a is greater than or equal to 5. Yeah, that's true, right? So that's the same as in Java. Else, yes, else. How do you do else? Okay, so the way you would do else is this. You would have tab, and then here you would type the code, and then without the tab you would say else, then you put a colon, and then again tab, and then you type the code. And then whenever you want to get out of the tab, oh, sorry, out of the else, right? Again, there are no braces. You just need to go back in the indentation where else and if is. I don't know, really weird, but you get used to that pretty quickly, honestly. So not a problem at all. Moving on. What else? Yeah, by the way, so one of the mistakes I was making a lot is if I have some kind of code, or yeah, if I have some kind of code, right, which is located here, right? In this case, what Python is going to do, it's going to guess, it's going to think that this belongs to if statement, and this is outside of this if statement, and this else doesn't belong anywhere, which means it's going to throw an error. Okay. By the way, also one of the things which you need to keep in mind is this: Python interpret what is it called? It basically interprets the code immediately. Okay, what does that mean? So that means, for example, if I have, okay, so let's say if I have, okay, so if this code works correctly, right, doesn't have any errors, this code has some kind of an issue, right, so division by 0, for example, and that if this code is correct, right, so in Java, what would, in all other languages, what would normally happen is the whole file will be compiled first, right, and then it will be, it will throw an error, right, so basically no code will be executed. In Python, though, it kind of takes one line, compiles it, immediately executes. Take another line, compiles, executes another, and then somewhere at the end it says basically, sorry, there is an error, and then it kind of stops immediately here, and it doesn't compile, doesn't run anything below. That's how Python works. Okay, hold on. Okay, moving on. What's next? Yeah, so else if. So here's how it works in Python. You basically say if. Okay, let's place it here. So you would say if A is greater than B. You don't have to put parentheses, by the way. Colon, then tab some code. Okay. Now then, if you want to do else if, right, you would say else if, right, which is a kind of a shorter version of else if, and then provide another condition. B is greater than is equal to A, then also code, and then at the very end you need to finish with else. Okay, like a default case. And then code. Okay. Hope it makes sense. Yeah, so else is important. You need to have else at the very end. Next, while. While looping with an iterator. Okay. So while loop basically works exactly the same way as in Java. The only difference that is that again you have a colon and you have a tab here. Okay, so num is equal to 1 while num is less than 10. Colon, print num plus equals 1, right? So it goes from 1 to 10. And if num is equal to 10, that still prints out num. So 10 is still printed out, but 11 would not be. Okay, so while loop is still the same. Next, what is that? While condition, loop condition false. Okay, for looping, yeah. So the for is really weird, honestly. That's how you normally do that. So you would say, let's say for I in range. So like in is that kind of, that attempt to make the code more understandable by people who speak English, right? So for I in range, and then range, here we have like 111. What does that mean? That basically means that I is going to, how do I say that? Okay, so range is basically something which creates an array between 1 and 11, I think including 11 or not, I'm not sure. But basically like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So if it's inclusive, okay? So that's going to be basically representing an array, right? And for I in that array is going to mean that I is going to be traversing, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, okay? So something like this. Okay, now tap here. So that means that I here, depending on what iteration you're in, is going to be 1 at first, then sec, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, and up until 11. I'm not sure if 11 is included or not. What's next? So, that's it. Perfect. Okay, cool. Hope it makes sense. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.